Okay, so I'm told that people very much enjoy these retrospective videos. So I got something special for you guys tonight. This is a 18-year-old video card, I think. Some of you guys were probably in diapers when this thing was being made. And we were slapping two of these things in our rigs in SLI because that was the hot thing to do back then. So this is a card that was released late in 2007. This is, for those of you who hear about like the 8800, 8800 Ultra, 8800 GTX, this is the second generation of the card. So the first generation of the card, you saw cards like the uh, the 8800 GTX. Look at that green PCB. You don't ever see that anymore. It's kind of that's about as dated as it gets. You don't see green PCBs on hardly anything anymore. I see them on. I get these super micro motherboards that have them, but you don't see them on consumer stuff. Consumers usually associate green circuit board with outdated stuff, so I think they don't use it anymore. But um, so uh, the 8800 GTX and 8800 Ultra 768 megabytes, and then the 8800 GTS and 320 and 640 megabyte cards. This was a second generation using a chip called the G92. G92 was far more efficient than the original. Pound for pound, shall we say, it was more powerful. I think the GTX and the Ultra still ever so slightly nudged the 512 8800 GTS, but it was only really because of the fact that they were just pure raw, brute performance, just a ton of it. If they had been based on G92, they would have been even faster. This was also the card, very, very similar. The second generation of this card more or less became what became known as the 9800, 9800 GTX, 9800 GT. All of those cards were based on the G92. Same with the 9800 GX2, which I actually showed in a previous video. So you had 9800 GX2, 9800 GT, 9800 GTX, 9800. I don't think they had, no, I don't think they had a GTS on the 9800, but those were all G92. And then you also had the single slot width 8800 and 9800 GT cards as well that were all G92 based. So these were pretty good. A card like this could run, so back in the day, being able to run Crisis was kind of a big deal. Can it run Crisis? And this was a card people bought for that purpose. I guarantee you that this card has run Crisis long ago. So back then, you didn't really aspire to 1080p as much as you do today. The kind of the low end gaming experience was more not even wide yet. At that point, like either 16 by 10 wide, which would have been like 1440 by 900 or 1680 1050. But at that point in time, LCDs were so expensive that you saw a lot more people on the older generation 1280 by 1024 resolution displays. This could run, or even 1024 768. A lot of people would have been running these 1024 768 on, say, like a 17-inch native run that would have natively run, say, 1280 by 1024. So it would have looked like garbage, but we did it anyway. But you would have been running, let's say, 1024 768 between like 30 and you wouldn't have hit 60. Probably for a single card, you wouldn't have hit 60. Probably like 30 to 50 FPS would have been my guess at, say, low to medium settings, which, to give you an idea, Crisis 1 is still a demanding game. Some fairly high-end hardware that I see cannot, I mean, I still see systems that can't hit, 50, 60 FPS. Part of it's really poor optimization. I mean, today, Crisis 3, for example, is way better. Crisis 2 is way better and looks better. But anyway, and that would have been the main thing. These were these were Crisis cards. There's a few other games. You played Far Cry on these. You would have played like World of Warcraft on these. I think usually the WoW players went with cheaper cards because you didn't need this for WoW. But um, oh yeah, I figured you would have noticed from the name, but this is a 512 megabyte video card. So this is the 88. You can't see it on here, but 8800 GTS 512. I'm not going to give you the rest of the specs. It's not really important. We're really just looking at the card. It's interesting. It's got dual DVIs, S video. I bet almost no one watching this knows what S video is. So S video was what you used before HDMI. S video, I think, maxed out at like 640, 480 pixels or something like that, and it's what you would have used before we had HDMI to connect to your TV. We didn't have you didn't really start seeing affordable large LCD screens until like 2010, 2011. So this was you usually just used the DVI and you went to your standard, 1280 by 1024 res monitor. So anyway, I hope you guys found that interesting. Kind of a quick look at a absolute dinosaur of a product, but this was the absolute most awesome thing back in the day. So thought I'd show it to you. Thanks for watching.